This weapon will finally wipe out the enemy. Italy is bursting into the fight. A column of steel-armored vehicles is heading to Ukraine. The Ukrainian armed forces at its helm are already preparing for large-scale special operations right under the enemy's nose. The Russians are whining and trying to find flaws in the fierce beasts that will soon grind them down in a heated battle. This is going to be epic. More details about the weaponry that will turn everything upside down are coming up next.
An unprecedented aid package for Ukraine from Rome. As it has become known, Italy has already prepared its 11th military support package for official Kyiv. According to the Western press, under this package, Ukraine will likely receive the Italian tracked version of the M113 armored personnel carriers.
It is expected that a reserve of tracked tanks for troop transport will be placed inside. These are M113 tanks designed to house an equipped infantry squad and provide close-range fire support to the troops.
It is worth noting that this weapon is already at the front. It is not new for the armed forces of Ukraine. For more than a year, similar American equipment has been participating in the fighting in Donbass.
Two-zero horsepower Detroit, American refined two-stroke diesel, turbo diesel.
As for the Italian version of the M113 itself, in 2024 the Camellino appeared in service with the National Police. And the Apennine modification, which is NATO standard weaponry, unlike the earlier M113 modifications provided by allies, received additional side armor, which significantly improved the vehicle's characteristics.
This is already the 11th comprehensive package of significant military aid being provided to Kyiv. The ongoing war unfortunately continues to persist. A ceasefire is still just a mirage for now.
Meanwhile, as soon as Russian propaganda learned about the upcoming delivery of Italian armored vehicles to Ukraine, they began to harshly criticize the American M113 in every possible way. This is despite the fact that the Ukrainian armed forces have not captured a single such vehicle. The occupiers have started to completely trash Western equipment. And here are the scientific facts. As Ukrainian defenders report, the American armored vehicles suffer from a completely different issue. On the contrary, for the Ukrainian armed forces, they are even too fast and maneuverable.
It's the rollers that require constant maintenance. We're driving at high speed, the track bounces, it splashes the roller, the rubber gets torn off completely. That's what happens, it splashes the roller, and that's it.
And even though the American vehicle dates back to the 1950s, its constant and thorough modernization gives it an edge over Russian APCs. Even the occupiers themselves are forced to admit this in their own propaganda videos.
Basically, it's pretty much the same as on our vehicles. But it's important to note that to disembark quickly, this whole ramp opens up. It just drops down. Yes, of course, this means that the troops can disembark much faster, and accordingly, this, let's say, eliminates. The time it takes for the troops to disembark is important.
Another advantage is that the structural aluminum can withstand small fragments. You can even see here that one fragment got stuck, aluminum.
But that's far from everything the American M113 can use to surprise the enemy. What especially terrifies Russian army soldiers is the armored vehicle's automatic fire control system. With its help, eliminating the enemy becomes like playing a video game on the easiest difficulty setting.
launch, just one button. The drive of the module itself is activated, then the camera, and then you adjust the fire accordingly. There are 3 firing modes: single shots, short bursts, from 2 to 7 rounds.
The much-praised Russian army of Putin, with its deeply outdated APCs, could only dream of something like this.
It aims and tracks the target itself, it tracks the target on its own, even if the vehicle is stationary.
There is an automatic target acquisition system.
And according to Western media reports, Italy will deliver as many as 400 of these vehicles to Ukraine. This could significantly affect the balance of power on the current front line, and it definitely won't give the occupiers a chance to successfully carry out the announced full-scale summer offensive.
Moscow is on the edge. Unknown drones reached the Russian capital and caused quite a stir. Putin is in shock, and the drones hit a secret location. The video has already appeared online. The occupiers are whining that the war is taking its toll. Strikes against the enemy are gaining momentum. You'll hear all the details about our lightning maneuvers on enemy territory right now.
Monday morning in the Moscow region started not with coffee, but with the sound of drones.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
70 kilometers from the Russian capital, residents of the city of Krasnozavodsk suddenly remembered that the war is closer than they'd like. In the sky, there was a rumble, panic erupted in local chats, and at the local factory a series of explosions and plumes of smoke appeared.
So, to be classic,
In the footage, you can see the drones were flying low and hit their target precisely. According to Andriy Kovalenko, head of the Center for Countering Disinformation at the National Security and Defense Council, the strikes were not accidental.
In Russia's Moscow region, the Krasnozavodsk chemical plant was attacked. They produce explosives, gunpowder, and components for ammunition and missile weaponry there. This is a link in the technological chain that supplies the Russian army with artillery shells for MLRS and ballistic missiles.
Local residents heard about 7 explosions. However, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported as usual. All targets were destroyed, no hits. Meanwhile, the local governor, Andrei Vorok, is avoiding comments regarding the attack on the facility. But he is providing detailed reports about another incident, the fall of unidentified drones in the neighboring Sergeyevo-Posadsky district.
2 people were injured. A 60-year-old man suffered a closed head injury. 3 teeth were knocked out. A 40-year-old man sustained an open neck wound and a chest contusion. Both were taken to the Sergeyevo-Posad hospital. Medical staff are providing assistance. The condition of the injured is of moderate severity. There is no threat to their lives.
Playing the silent game is yet another admission of defeat by the local air defense. The publication Defense Express analyzed the video from the scene. Journalists claim these UAVs have already successfully breached the dense air defense ring around Moscow, the so-called concrete belt, more than once.
The FP-1 not only broke through to the target located north of Moscow. In the footage, there is no sign or sound of air defense systems in operation. Moreover, this is not the first attack by this drone on the area. Because on the night of the 4th of July, these same Ukrainian long-range drones attacked the Research Institute of Applied Chemistry in the city of Sergeyev, Posad, which is only 12 kilometers from Krasnozavodsk.
So, as always, Russia reports on the effective operation of the air defense systems. But the facts tell a different story. Drones reaching their targets more and more often are striking right at the heart of the enemy's military infrastructure. Yuri Kutsi, details. Inter-Television Channel, Marathon, United News.
Urgent escalation. Putin's army is advancing on Armenia. Tension beyond the limit. Columns of military equipment are already near the border, and the Kremlin is throwing everything it could gather into the fight. Relations between the countries are on the verge of breaking. A second front is becoming a reality. Right now, urgent statements are being made. Don't miss the main thing.
Against the backdrop of escalating tensions with Azerbaijan, the Russian Federation is increasing its military presence in Armenia. This was stated by the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine.
The main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine has published a telegram from the acting chief of staff of the Southern Military District of the Russian Armed Forces, Major General Zimskov. The document contains an order from the commander of the troops of the Southern Military District of the Russian Armed Forces. This concerns the buildup of Russian military forces through the so-called reinforcement of the Russian military base in the city of Gyumri, Armenia.
The deployment of Russian troops in Armenia is part of the Kremlin's comprehensive strategy aimed at destabilizing the global security situation. The main intelligence directorate is confident that Moscow is accelerating the process of staffing its base to increase military and political pressure on the countries of the South Caucasus. The personnel are being reinforced with servicemen from the Rostov and Volgograd regions, as well as from the annexed Crimea.
The command of the military unit Paliva Post 0 to 4, 43.6, in the period from May 13 to the 11th of June 2025, to carry out the selection of personnel in the units and military formations of the military district, for the subsequent signing of initial contracts and deployment to the military base for further military service.
The document submitted by Ukrainian intelligence also mentions the reinforcement of the 8th, 18th, 49th and 58th Combined Arms Armies of the Southern Military District of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. It is possible that the Russian Federation wants to increase the size of its military contingent to put pressure on Baku as well as Yerevan, because right now Russia's relations with Armenia and Azerbaijan are not
in the absolute best possible shape and condition. This is specifically for the Public Union of the Russian Federation, a significant and influential organization. Furthermore, this includes a crucial military base and a substantial air group strategically located in Erebuni could be used against Armenia itself if Moscow doesn't like something there. In other words, if Armenia suddenly pulls out, as is being discussed now, from the sphere of influence of the Russian Federation, then perhaps Putin could use them. That's why this is a dangerous situation.
The base in Gyumri was established in 1995 according to the current agreement between Yerevan and Moscow. It will operate until 2044. The 102nd Russian military base is located in Gyumri, the largest military facility of the occupiers in the South Caucasus. The personnel numbers about 5,000 people. 2,500 are Russians and 2,000 are Armenians. The base is equipped with S-300 surface-to-air missile systems and 18 MiG-29 fighter jets. So it's quite a formidable strike force that could, for example, seize the airport in Yerevan and secure the landing of the main Russian forces. The Russian army attempted a similar seizure at the Hostomel airfield near Kyiv in February 2022. The Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs also commented on the intelligence statement regarding Russia's increased military presence in the country. They stated that their position is principled and the territory of Armenia cannot be used by third countries.
The Republic of Armenia reaffirms its principled position that the territory of the Republic of Armenia cannot be used by third countries for conducting military actions against any of the neighboring states. Ani Badalyan, spokesperson for the Armenian Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
The military base in Gyumri is not the only lever of military political pressure on the countries of the South Caucasus. The Russian outpost in Armenia can be compared to the Black Sea Fleet base in Sevastopol. It was precisely thanks to Russian forces in Ukrainian Crimea that the occupation of the peninsula took place in 2014. And Armenia should take this lesson into account to avoid repeating the same mistakes